Singh, Minister Zulfikar Ali, President of Exxon Mobil Guyana, Mr. Alastair Rutledge, Vice President and Commercial Manager at Exxon, Mr. Paul Foster, and other Exxon executives and staff, Mr. Jay Persaud, Partner, EY Global, Kathy Smith, President of the GCCI, other members of the business organizations in Guyana and the various chambers, distinguished guests, summit delegates from across Guyana and abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Berbice Development Summit 2025, channeling Guyana's energy endowment into transformative investments for sustainable growth and development. Can we give ourselves a round of applause? It's been a lovely morning. And today we are here to explore how Berbice, rich in heritage, rich in resilience and potential, can once again stand at the forefront of Guyana's next industrial and digital revolution. Berbice is where Guyana's national story began. From Kofi's 1763 rebellion, which lit the flame of freedom, to generations who fed our nation through agriculture and enterprise, Berbice has always been a driver of progress. The region has produced giants in every field. Dr. Chedi Jagan, a founder father of our democracy. Rohan Kanai, the legendary cricketer who led the West Indies to World Cup victory back in 1975. Professor Clement Sankat, son of number 64 village and a champion of technical education, leading a world-class institution right in Berbice. And now, Berbice stands ready to lead again as a hub of technology, industry, and innovation. So to begin today's journey of discovery, of dialogue, we're honored to welcome a man whose leadership in the energy sector. Join me in welcoming Mr. Alastair Rutledge, President of Exxon Mobil Guyana. His presentation is From Energy to Development.
Good morning, everybody. His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, members of the Cabinet of Government, your Honourable MPs, ladies and gentlemen, especially those of you who've travelled from overseas to join us today, and if this is your first visit to Guyana, a warm welcome to what is one of the most exciting places on the planet these days. And so it is my job to tell you why that might be, what's been happening these last few years here in Guyana. So let me get started. You'll see in front of you the picture of the One Guyana, which is a floating production, storage, and offloading vessel that arrived here offshore Guyana, about 200 kilometers offshore Guyana, earlier this year, started production in August of this year, and has lifted the production of the country to over 900,000 barrels per day. But this is just one milestone in this incredible journey. And what I'd like to do is take you back a little bit of history as to how we got to where we are today, and then to share a little bit of what's in front of us that gives us a foundation, a confidence for building a gas business here in Guyana, and as we heard earlier on, particularly targeting the Berbice area of the country. So, you have to go all the way back to 1999, the start of ExxonMobil's journey here in Guyana. That is when we signed our first production sharing agreement with the country for what is called the Stabroek Block. It stretches from the maritime border with Venezuela in the west to the maritime border with Suriname in the east. It is a large block. It's a very strategic block, and it was for the country at that time. And the president of the day Janet Jagan signed that agreement in 1999. At the time, there had been several decades of exploration activities in Guyana, onshore and offshore, without any commercial success. Just to the west and the north, you'll see Trinidad, which of course has had decades of oil and gas production, and of course Venezuela too. So everybody knew that we were in a region of the world that had some hydrocarbons, but Guyana had been unfortunate and unable to find those up until that point. Well, it still took us until 2015 when we drilled the very first well in the starboard block. It was the Liza-1 well. And this was after ExxonMobil originally had the acreage at 100%. We had Shell join us in around 2008. They worked with us on seismic interpretation, but just before we drilled the first well, decided the risk was too high. And we scoured industry looking for partners that were willing to come in to this high-risk well offshore Guyana, and were successful in bringing Hess and CNOOC into the partnership. And so in May of 2015, soon after they joined our partnership, we drilled into the formation that is the Liza field and struck very high-quality oil in Guyana, about 200 kilometers offshore. And so started the story, which is the development of the starboard block. And a remarkable story for the industry. Truly industry-leading development. So where to from there? You'll see we've now made over 30 significant discoveries offshore in the starboard block, mostly in that southeast corner of the block. We are now have 7 major developments that have been sanctioned by the government for us to invest in, bringing our committed investment in the country in the starboard block to over $60 billion US, a massive investment in the country. Of those investments, 4 of those projects, I mentioned the 4th one, has started up. The very first one started in December of 2019, only approximately 4.5 years after the first discovery. That is unheard of in our industry. In a new basin, to find oil where there's no infrastructure, no supporting industry, to go from that first discovery to first oil in 4.5 years is groundbreaking. To do it again with Liza Phase 2 in 2021, and then with the Payara project in 2023, and then the Yellowtail project this year, is putting Guyana on a path of developing oil and gas and growing production in a deepwater basin that no other country has seen before. Not Brazil, not Angola. None of these locations have achieved this success. And what is it down to? It is, I truly believe, an incredibly strong partnership between ExxonMobil, our co-venturers, the government, and the people of the country. There's been tremendous ambition and desire to move forward quickly in the country to convert its hydrocarbon resources for the benefit of the people in the country. And we are proud to be part of this journey in Guyana. So how does the future look? From here, you'll see we started, well, in 2019, there was virtually 0 production until December of that year. And you'll see the steady progression as we're growing production. 7 of these 8 projects on this slide are already sanctioned and under construction or online. Project 8, the Longtail project, which is the first of our non-associated gas developments, is already in the environmental authorization process, and we are preparing to deliver to the government a field development plan in the first quarter of next year. With the aim, we hope, to reach a final investment decision by the end of 2026. which would put us on course to start up 8 major projects by 2030. By the end of this decade, to have 8 major projects online, an invested capacity of 1.7 million barrels per day, and a production level of around 1.3 million barrels per day. A phenomenal achievement in about 15 years from first discovery and just over 11 years from the first oil. A phenomenal growth story. And again, what is making this possible is that partnership. Partnerships in Guyana that have really been the foundation of the journey that we find ourselves on. Now, recognizing that Guyana has been reliant on imported energy for most of its existence, together with the government in 2021, we aligned on the Gas to Energy project. And that project is founded upon bringing gas from the Liza field, from the 2 floating production facilities, Liza Phase 1 and 2, 200 kilometers onshore to the Wales development area in Region 3 of the country. The pipeline is a 12-inch pipeline with a capacity of approximately 120 million cubic feet per day. In the initial development phase, we've committed to bringing 50 million cubic feet per day of gas, rich gas onshore. The government is currently constructing the NGL extraction and power plant for 300 megawatts of power, which will meet today's power demand in the country. But as you can imagine, in a country that has the fastest growing economy in the world, more power is needed. So thank goodness the pipeline is a little bigger. So plans are afoot for the future phases of that development. But at this moment, we're all focused on completing the power plant, getting that online, delivering reliable, lower emission energy to the country of Guyana to support its further diversification of the industrial economy. Earlier this year at the Energy Conference in February, I shared an image very like this one, which is a vision of what further gas development could be in Guyana. Part of it is already a reality. The northern part of this, you'll see that first pipeline from the Starbuck block to the Wales area has already been constructed. The power plant is under construction. There are plans afoot, there is tendering going on for the further development of the second phase of power. Indeed, there may even be plans afoot for development of a data center at that location. Perhaps we'll hear more about that today. The second part of this, though, is that development for the Berbice area. I mentioned earlier on we've started into non-associated gas development with plans around the Longtail field. Further to the southeast of that, what we're calling the southeast gas area, we have yet more gas resources, gas and condensate, that we are looking to develop. But of course, it requires a gas market, unless we wanted to export that gas. And in all the conversations that we've been having, we've heard the growing enthusiasm from the government to do just that, to use the nation's resources to stimulate the growth of a gas market in the Berbice region of the country. So that is the integrated plan to which we are working, is to develop the gas resource, to bring it onshore, and to support this expansion of the country's economy with gas. So we're excited that you could all join us here today to get on this train, this fast-moving train which is Guyana's development, and to be part of the future of growth in Guyana, a country that is both beautiful but also dedicated to development in a balanced way under its low-carbon development strategy. So again, let me finish as I began, to welcome all of you to Guyana, to be part of this exciting summit, and to work with us in partnership in the future development of Guyana, supported by gas, fueling a sustainable, prosperous future for Guyanese. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rutledge, for that insightful presentation. And it set the tone for what is to come, not just for the morning session, but for the duration of the day. Indeed, energy can fuel not just our economy, but our transformation as a people. And earlier, Alistair did ask and say welcome to all who were in Guyana, especially from overseas. So would you indulge me for a few moments by a show of hands to see all who are in Guyana from overseas, so we get to know you in the room. All right. And by a show of hands, let's see all who've had some authentic Guyanese cuisine. We've got to do something about that. Be sure to stay for Guy Expo happening later this week. You can try any of our authentic Guyanese food, whether it's cook-up or roti and curry or pepper pot or the famous egg ball. How about the Guyanese in the room? Let's say the Guyanese in the room. Very good. And throughout the day, through the various breaks that we will have, we hope that we will connect with each other. This is what the summit is about connecting with your peers, with investors, with innovators, because this is the broader context for this Berbice Development Summit today. And so as we continue, we are going to now have a session that connects the dots from what Alistair has just shared, and talk more about the growth, the industrial growth, logistics, the opportunities for you in the room. So now I'm going to invite Mr. Jay Persaud, originally from Crane on the west side, who is partner at EY Global, together with Vice President and Commercial Manager at ExxonMobil Guyana, Mr. Paul Foster. And together they will take us through a presentation titled Whales and the Road to Berbice. Please welcome them.
Morning, everyone. Our pleasure to be here. We recognize His Excellency, President Ali, and all of the protocols recognized. Where to begin? Welcome to the summit, again, friends, Guyanese friends, local friends from abroad. Today, we stand at a pivotal moment in Guyana. The nation's energy resources present a unique opportunity, yes, for economic growth and for building a smarter, brighter future for all Guyanese. This summit is about growth, how we go to the next level. We'll talk about national development, our people, and how we secure a brighter future for everyone. From Wales to Berbice, we will explore how strategic investments will transform our country's potential into lasting prosperity. As Michelle said, I'm Jay Persaud with EY. I'm joined by Paul Foster. Paul?
Yeah, Paul Foster. I'm the Commercial Vice President and for the ExxonMobil Guyana affiliate. And being here, welcome.
Our collaboration reflects the power of combining global expertise and local knowledge. Together, we're committed to guiding this conversation for the rest of this week. Guyana is endowed with tremendous natural resources that catalyze this beautiful country into a broad and diversified economy, one that's industrial, digital, and inclusive. Yes, we're talking about economic growth, but we're also talking about investing in every aspect of society: healthcare, education, infrastructure, digital transformation, and education. By diversifying our economy and focusing on sustainable, inclusive growth, Guyana is positioned as a global leader. We're creating opportunities for all Guyanese, ensuring that prosperity is shared and building a foundation for long-term success.
Okay. So when we looked at Guyana's goal, this energy endowment into transforming the Guyanese economy. We looked at and thought about what industries could be attracted to Guyana that would help Guyana's economy, what we call jump the S-curve. You see that here. That jumping the S-curve concept is about going from, instead of working through agriculture industry, ultimately to data and intelligence. Why not take the energy? Yeah, let's just use that. We'll just use this. Look, turn. We're having trouble with, sorry, with our mics. So why not use that energy instead to go straight to an information and intelligence-based economy? So that's the objective. ExxonMobil did a lot of study on different ways that we could commercialize the gas resources in, commercialize the gas resources that we've discovered in the southeast portion of the Stabroek block, which Alistair talked about. We looked at a lot of these things, and we really landed on what Alistair said, that it's the domestic development of Guyana that would be the most attractive way for that gas to be used for the benefit of all Guyanese. So we've looked at and studied we studied many different potential industries, but the four that rose to the top was data centers, alumina, direct reduced iron, which I won't talk too much about, and then fertilizers. When we looked at those value chains and saw which ones made the most sense economically, all the way from the resource to the end user, it was data centers and alumina that made the most sense. Data centers we'll talk about more, alumina as well, but alumina really because it gives you the opportunity to leverage Guyana's world-class bauxite resources, which we think is an important strategic objective of this exercise. So in looking at these strategic objectives across Guyana's industry, we also have, what does it deliver? It delivers digital infrastructure, education, healthcare, all those things that are necessary to really lift the Guyanese economy up. So that's the objective. We'll continue to, let's move to the next slide. This is you.
All right, so some geographic context. Wales, can everyone hear me? Is this working?
Yep.
The Wales side is well underway, and Alistair showed some pictures, and it's located about 40 kilometers south of here. The Berbice side is east of here, and that development will be very much larger than the Wales side. These investments will include power plants, advanced data centers, heavy industry, and the infrastructure needed to support them. The Berbice gas pipeline is a cornerstone, unlocking export opportunities and helping Guyana become a regional hub for energy and digital services. These projects are designed to serve both local needs and international markets, strengthening Guyana's position globally.
All right, this chart shows the development of both Wales and Berbice. So on the left side, we have the Wales development zone, which is in progress. It's well underway. Phase 1 in Wales has a target go live sometime late by the end of 2026 or thereabouts. Once both phase 1 and 2 are complete, the Wales site will generate about 600 megawatts of power. That's a significant amount of new power. The majority of this production is going to be used for the grid and is going to significantly lower the cost of energy for the people of Guyana by at least half. But 100 megawatts of that is going to be used to power a new data center. And so we're in the process of working with partners to bring about this data center in Wales. It's going to be deployed in 2 phases, 50 megawatts from the first GTE1 energy and another 50 megawatts from the second. And we believe that Wales provides a compelling example of what we can accomplish together. So we're talking about Wales, even though this is a Berbice conference, because we think that what we're doing in Wales now will really help to demystify what can be done on a much larger scale in Berbice later with the new gas that we would develop. The Berbice site, as I said, is going to be many times the size of Wales. There's a tremendous amount of planning, coordination, and capital that's going to be needed for that project. We expect groundbreaking activities sometime in 2028, assuming everything goes well in the planning phase to be able to start that work. However, for this to occur, we're going to need this group, people in this group gathered here today, to work together to move ahead. There are gigantic opportunities available in Berbice. The electricity generation capacity will be in excess of 2 gigawatts, many times bigger than what's in Wales. The data center can be scaled up to between 1 and 2 gigawatts to utilize that power, and that is scalable. The way these things are built, you can continue just to add capacity that once you've started. We expect to have an alumina refinery to leverage that increased bauxite production and to take bauxite another step down the value chain to get more value-added production in Guyana. And other things such as fertilizer, agro-industry, and we talked a little bit about direct reduced iron. That, I think, is a longer-term potential, which would maybe use iron ore from northern Brazil. And we'll talk about the infrastructure section, how a deepwater port and rail from Berbice to northern Brazil could transform and create that connection, that economic connection. There's other infrastructure opportunities. There's a deepwater port, roads and bridges and other buildings that are going to be springing up around this. Our strategy, though, goes beyond bricks and mortar. We're investing in people as well. All of this new development, all of this new opportunity requires skill sets to be developed. And so there'll be vocational training, digital upskilling, STEM education, leadership programs are all part of the plan to lift the capability of the working people of Berbice. So developing that human capital alongside infrastructure, we're ensuring that Guyana's workforce is ready for the many jobs that are going to be created in this. So this is, Alistair showed you some pictures already, and you've seen some of this. These are pictures of the development that's been going on in Wales so far. The main thing I wanted to add in here is this picture on the upper left shows what Wales would have looked like prior to all of this infrastructure. And the primary reason is to show that a site that looks like this is this sort of rural, remote site can be transformed into a site that can do all this. So, you know, when we think about building data centers or think about, you know, going into a place that's sort of virgin land or land that has to be developed from scratch, we just want everybody to understand that that is a challenge that's already been undertaken, and we're already seeing that that can be done. So as we think about the Berbice development, we just wanted to be clear, you know, that the capability exists for us to make those kind of developments in this country. All right.
So a little deeper, the Wales Data Center is a game changer for this country. Powered by Guyana's energy, it's a compelling proof of concept for what we've just discussed about Berbice. The facility will anchor Guyana's digital future. It'll support AI research. It will attract global university partners, and it will foster a vibrant startup ecosystem. It's the heart of the CARICOM AI Hub, and it signals our commitment to innovation and regional leadership. Guyana will be the clear and natural leader for AI in this region. With this Wales Data Center, Guyana is poised to lead in innovation. The assets on the left that you see, land, power, fiber, water, and a supportive legislative framework will give us a strong foundation to work with international partners. We're enabling digital government, modern healthcare, advanced education, and a thriving research and development ecosystem. These investments will accelerate venture creation, upskill our workforce, and introduce frontier technologies to this country. Berbice is the next frontier. Our vision is to create Guyana's most ambitious industrial and digital hub with a 2-gigawatt data center, heavy industry facilities, and other commercial developments. Powered by natural gas and supported by robust infrastructure, roads, bridges, ports, fiber networks. Berbice will attract investment, drive innovation, and create new opportunities for all Guyanese.
All right, so Berbice offers unique advantages: reliable energy, abundant water, disaster-free location, which is interesting because, data centers really don't like hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, earthquakes. One of the advantages that Guyana actually has is it doesn't have all those natural disasters that you have to worry about and plan for and engineer around in other places. So it sounds a little flippant, but it's true. It really is an advantage for Guyana. And it also has proximity to major markets in the U.S. and Latin America. It may not seem intuitive, but we can lay fiber, relatively modest investment, to connect Guyana with a massive fiber connection to North America, to Europe, and other places. And so that actually makes it, attractive location for both for the Caribbean, for Caribbean connection, and also the rest of the world. Global demand for data centers and aluminum is surging. It's driven by AI, cloud computing, and lightweight materials for transportation and electronics. I think everybody's seen the AI rush that's going on. I equate it to a bit of a gold rush. The seeking the compute capacity, finding places to access energy. And energy is a huge constraint on being able to just grow this business in this capacity. This is why we think that's a good place to use the energy Guyana has. And we're here in Guyana perfectly positioned to meet this demand and become a global leader in both the digital and industrial sectors. Talk a little bit about alumina. Guyana's bauxite reserves are among the best in the world. And expanding that mining industry, the expanding mining industry is ready to support industrial growth. By pairing the resources of reliable natural gas and strategic infrastructure like the planned deepwater port, Berbice can achieve industrial maturity and global competitiveness, especially in alumina production, which is a critical precursor for aluminum. And it's important for, as we talked about, automotive, aerospace, and electronics industries. So all those elements really do lead us to the conclusion that it's a really good place to take that next step down the value chain for bauxite refining. For all of this to be successful, though, and we're going to need, in securing the early investment commitments across the value chain is going to be essential. The upstream gas development and a pipeline from the Southeast gas area from the Stabroek block is the foundation for delivering on this digital and industrial strategy. And all of these industries need energy, all the energy resources that we can produce. But bringing it all to reality requires alignment across all the stakeholders, which is why we have you all in the room today. We're going to need operational readiness and commercial agreements. Each segment of the value chain depends on the other segment. The upstream producers are going to rely on the power plants and the industrial users to ensure that the gas we produce is used and paid for. And likewise, the power, data centers, and industrial users are going to depend on the gas being developed and available at an affordable price. And we have to bring all of these projects together, hold hands, and coordinate the development across the value chain. We're all going to need to work together, the government and the private sector, to align our investment decisions so that no participant is taking inappropriate risk. The whole value chain ultimately has to hang together. So as we think about developing in Berbice and starting from building the upstream infrastructure, offshore, building the pipeline, building a power plant, building a gas plant, power plant, and then data centers and all the rest, we have to synchronize those investments and make sure that we have coordination across that whole value chain, and that we're all looking each other in the eye and making sure as they make those decisions, we're making them together and we're all sharing that risk appropriately.
All right. So transformation is big, and it can be very challenging. And it starts with leadership and vision. And for this, we're grateful to His Excellency President Ali. This week is a call to action to work together to deliver this vision. Each person in this room brings unique perspective, skills, and capital both human and economic. Gas, infrastructure, and industry, as you see on this slide, are parts of a shared equation. Gas gives us the energy, infrastructure moves it and connects us. Industry turns it into jobs, exports, and long-term value. To succeed and transform, they must interlock and work as one. We can't build infrastructure without knowing that gas is coming. We can't attract industry without infrastructure in place. And gas doesn't create value unless there's industry to use it for the benefit of Guyanese people. And that's why we're here, to align, to commit, and to move forward. Together, let's deliver on the vision to transform.
So thank you very much, Paul and Jay, for mapping out that powerful vision, giving us a roadmap, connecting energy, connecting innovation, but more than that, regional empowerment. So data centers, alumina opportunities, deep water port, we're getting excited. And if you're interested in anything that you've heard so far or you've got any questions, you can start very early by submitting those questions using the QR code that's on your respective programs, and the team will address and revert. I'd like to acknowledge born Berbician joining us at this time, Minister of Natural Resources, Vikram Bharat, as we continue with our program today, Berbice Development Summit 2025. And before we continue, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment to celebrate what real development looks like. Yes, it's in all that we've heard in the presentation so far. As Paul said, it's more than bricks and mortar, it's in the people. So I'd like to introduce you to two people from Berbice, not here today, but we'd like to acknowledge them. Their names are Nicholas and Ravina Aki. So who are they? Well, they're a young couple. They'll soon graduate from the University of Guyana Berbice campus. They're both earning their bachelor's degrees in education. But why am I sharing that today at this summit? Yes, they're from Berbice. They're young people, but they worked together as teachers. They raised their baby. They balanced their lessons and their lectures and their late nights, all powered by teamwork, faith, love. And so their story is being shared today because it's more than just a success story. It's a statement. And at the very top of our program, we mentioned how resilient we are as Guyanese and how resilient people are from Berbice. And so it's about men and women working together, side by side, sharing responsibilities, sharing their dreams, lifting each other, believing that when one rises, we all rise. And so as we go to our next presentation at this time, I wanted to share that story to emphasize the Berbice spirit, the Guyana spirit. And so it's now my distinct honor to welcome someone who puts those dreams into our heads and helps us to realize them. Yes, he's driving a united, an innovative, and an unstoppable Guyana. Fresh back from COP30, where our environmental leadership continues to receive global acclaim, he's now steering this extraordinary transformation. And while he may not be around in the sense that he wouldn't be as president when some of the projects we've just heard will materialize, he is laying the foundation from now, showing us that our transformation goes beyond oil and gas, opening those bold new frontiers that we heard about a moment ago. Please rise and join me as we welcome His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, for his remarks.
Thank you. Let me, first of all, thank all of you. Please have your seat. Let me welcome a very good gentleman. I met him only recently, but he's a remarkable guy, Richard. Richard, the FII founder and chairman, please stand so they can see you. He's a very handsome young man. But later, those of you, many of you in the room know him, but those who don't know him, you should get to know him. He's a remarkable individual, shaping a lot of what is happening in the Middle East. And we had some conversation, and just for you to have an understanding as to why I'm acknowledging him. It takes a lot out of a founder for any program to not only compete against the World Economic Forum in terms of the scale of capital they can bring together, but competing in 9 years, pull together more capital in one room in one area than the World Economic Forum in all its history. So that is the type of person Richard is. Let me say, today I also want to congratulate Guyana, the Minister of Natural Resources, who just came in on the signing of the S4 block. And that S4 block, Alastair, comes with a signing bonus of $15 million US. And the partners of that signing this morning are Petrobras, Total Energy, and Qatar Energy. That is to say to you the magnitude, the depth, and the diversification of the investors that are coming in. The initial investment is $300 million US with seismic, and the forest well, which is scheduled for the third quarter next year. So that is it's hot off the press. So I want to congratulate Guyana. And it's important for us to understand why these things are important in today's world. They're important because, you know, it is not easy to raise capital for energy project as 20 years ago. And it is different risk level, different investment profile. So for us to have these major players signing and taking part in the development of the energy sector is an enormous accomplishment. Now, today is about thinking. The next few days is about thinking. It's about testing ideas. It's about presenting options. And it's about creating a roadmap. So we have investors from around the world with different interests. I don't want you to look at any presentation and believe that your interest is locked out or locked in. Today is about examining what is on the table by different players, what are the options, the evaluation of options, and then defining the path and the roadmap forward. Why is this important? And I want to say our technical team, supported by the government of Qatar, helping us at the level of government to refine our plan and thinking. Munir is here. I want to thank him also for the work that he has been doing and for Qatar to supporting us, Exxon, and the entire team in the consortium. We had proposal from Fulcrum and other stakeholders. So we're going to look at all the options, but this has been a lot of work in the background, a lot of work. Exxon looking at different options, as you have just seen. And for us now to refine that work and to pull together that work. But just so that we understand, both local and international participants here, just for you to understand what we are talking about. And maybe before I go into Berbice, let me just say that Wales is more or less settled. What we're doing at Wales is more or less settled. That is the 2 power plant that would give us enough energy to propel the current and future development. In addition to that power plant, we have an expression of interest out now for the hydropower facility, the NGL facility, fertilizer plant to take care of full national demand and some of our regional partners, the gas bottling and logistics company, the small industrial park, and a glass factory focusing on high-value glass. That is the automobile industry. And that is linked to the quality of sand that we have. So it is not only about the gas, it's other natural resources that we have that is integrated in the value chain. So we are historically known to give you the finest beaches that you enjoy around the region with Guyanese sand. But we want to add value to that high-value commodity with the gas and create this whole new industry and hub around us here in Guyana. Importantly, for the fertilizer plant and the gas bottling and logistics plant, we are first opening up this opportunity to every Guyanese here and in the diaspora to invest. Because as I said, at Wales, these are national and regional scale investment. We want to maximize their participation. And for the fertilizer plant, we've already said there will be a rate of return that the government will guarantee, so that we give that opportunity as far as possible to every Guyanese here and in the diaspora, maximizing the resources that we can raise among the Guyanese here and in the diaspora. So I want to define things a bit here. Now, Berbice, when we speak about Berbice, we're speaking about Region 5 and 6. That is Mahaica Berbice and East Berbice. Together, these two regions are not just part of Guyana's geography, they represent a significant block of our country's economic potential and population. Collectively, Region 5 and 6 are 18 times the size of Region 4, Guyana's most populous and most economically developed region. Region 6 alone spans 36,234 square kilometers, dwarfing Regions 4, 2,232 kilometers. It's a region that stretches from the coastlands to the savannas and to forested lands. It is a region with 3 tongues alone, the only region that has so many tongues in Guyana. So it's important for you to understand the scale of the region. Whilst we are a small population, everything in business depends on scale. And understanding the scale gives us an opportunity to understand the potential that this region offers. Region 5, the great agricultural heartland of our country, is 1.5 times the size of Region 4, boasting rich soils and a proud heritage of food production. But it can be much more. Slightly more than half of our nation's population resides across these two regions. So that brings me to today's activity. This historic Berbice ecosystem that we are analyzing and looking at ideas, strategies, options that are before us. This summit is not a talk shop. It is not another meeting. It is a movement forward. It's momentum. It is building momentum. It's rallying every stakeholder. It's building partnership. It's expanding network. And it's creating the foundational pillars for the development that will take place. But we cannot look at the development of Guyana, the development of Berbice, or the development of our deepwater port without understanding how Guyana is integrated with Brazil and how Guyana is integrated with the rest of CARICOM and the rest of the world. There's a short video that I want to show you, a very short video, on why Guyana and Berbice is so important for the future of northern Brazil. Let me just show you this video. The volume is not there. Now this here, just before it started, this would tell you, and I do better than these consultants. This would tell you the number of days to the specific destination. So pay attention to this because it's a very important piece of statistical tool in this video. Go ahead. Yeah, are you getting it? By the time they fix their life, let me tell you a bit about understanding the potential of Roraima and the Amazonas. Roraima is Brazil's northernmost state, bordering Guyana and Venezuela. 600 kilometers from the mouth of the Berbice River to the state of Roraima. Roraima is first in 7 of 12 economic indicators in Brazil, leading in agriculture, manufacturing, and retail. The GDP growth cumulatively between 2029 and 2025 is 38%. It is one of Brazil's fastest growing states. Manaus is the 8th largest state in Brazil. These two states contribute enormously to the agricultural exports, manufacturing, and industrial development of Brazil. And their greatest disadvantage is the time to the Atlantic. Their greatest disadvantage is the time to the Atlantic. Guyana offers the opportunity to reduce their time to the Atlantic substantially to the point where the deepwater port in Guyana will position these two states as the most competitive states in Brazil. That is the integration we are talking about. So when we talk about the development opportunities ahead of us, we have to also understand the regional context of these opportunities. When you look at the economy of these two regions, okay, are you ready now? Okay, let's look at the video. And we have not spoken about when the Amazon is dry, what additional time is required for the movement of goods. So this, for us, is a low-hanging fruit. And any development in Berbice must open up the opportunities. Now, this is an important slide for anyone who is looking at the development of Guyana and this region. President Lula, the President of Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana even, we are looking at the infrastructure integration plan for South America. And if you look carefully at that plan, Guyana is really the centerpiece of the infrastructure plan. And look at the market integration. Look at the population integration. Look at the ecosystem that not only can be built, but that will be opened up as a result of this infrastructure transformation. And I'm showcasing this because Guyana's development is not about oil and gas. It's about leveraging the competitive advantage of oil and gas to position us strategically in areas of trade, economic development, transport and logistics, technology, and a whole array of opportunities that comes about with this integration. That is why I want you to understand that whatever we discuss in the next few days is not about a single barrel approach. It is deeply rooted and integrated into the development agenda of the region. And there is where scale comes in. Because when you look at the existing framework, you will say, where is the scale coming from for the large-scale investment? And that is why you have to understand where the scale is coming from. The scale is coming from the integration that we are pursuing. That is why this is an important slide. Now, let us move on. What are the investments that the government will be making in Region 6, in Region 6 and 5, and coming through the entire corridor, that will allow these opportunities we're talking about to come to fruition? The first thing is that you must get the infrastructure right. That is why we're building the connection to northern Brazil. And I want to recognize today also in the room our friends from Saudi Arabia, who we recently signed an MOU with, and they are looking at advancing rapidly the port development. And I'm coming to that because that's also linked to our local partners, our private sector, and ongoing work. I'm saying this to say that there was a time when we were chasing the world to find takers for these massive transformational projects. But now we have options before us. We have opportunities before us. And we want to ensure that we leverage those options and opportunity in a way that brings the greatest value and the greatest benefit to the people of our country. That is important. So the infrastructure we are talking about is the deepwater port, the road connectivity, the building of a new Berbice River Bridge to ensure the unimpeded use of the river. That's a high-span bridge, and this is important. We can't develop if we minimize the optimal utility of the river. So we have to build that bridge. 2 Hope-like canals that will open up hundreds of thousands of new lands for agriculture. The Quarantine River Bridge linking Guyana and Suriname, converting the existing roadways into a modern 4-lane highway from New Amsterdam to Molson Creek, expansive housing development, farm-to-market access roads, stadium, and a hard surface connectivity to Oriala and Siparuta. Those are 2 important villages that offers additional opportunities. This plan alone, will take a country our size maybe 15 years of planning to get completed. But this infrastructure plan that I've outlined here, we are pursuing to have it all completed within 5 years. And it will get done. There's not a choice. Now, important to all of this is also converting the Rose Hall airstrip into a municipal airport. And we are now finalizing the document, and soon we'll be going out for an expression of interest in relation to this. We want to ensure that our investment lead to Guyana becoming the world's hottest destination for agro-processing and food production. We want to create the most competitive destination for agro-processing and food production. We want Guyana to become one of the leading destinations for investment in innovation. We'll be creating an exclusive economic zone and a medium to large scale industrial estate to support the development. So what is important for us in determining which option we will embrace? And I want Exxon and the partners and everyone to listen carefully. What will be the determining factor? All our investors here. First, we want this room to be connected. The local private sector and international partners. Secondly, we want this entire zone. I'm not talking about the infrastructure I just outlined. I'm speaking now about the gas strategy for Berbice. We want the entire development to have minimal debt financing for the country. And that should be good news for the private sector. Minimal debt financing. That is the country taking loans to invest in these opportunities. So what that means is that minimum debt financing, but maximum foreign direct investment, maximum private sector participation here. So it means optimizing FDI, maximizing local, regional, and diaspora participation. Importantly, optimizing value. How do we optimize value? Optimizing resilience, sustainability, and reach. How do we use this phase of development to expand the economic, political, trade reach of the country? And that is important. A country must invest to position itself to have a better seat around the global table, around the regional table. And we must not be shy about this. We leverage our competitive advantage to propel our diplomacy, our partnerships, our national security. So, optimizing resilience, sustainability, and reach are also important considerations. Expanding the economic base, drive innovation, and support local business development. Another important factor that will determine the option we pursue. And importantly for the consortium at Stabro, the option must lead to monetization before 2030. I am not willing to push monetization beyond 2030. Constitutionally, I have an election in 2031, and I can't run again. And I'm not leaving this decision for anyone after me. So any option that does not allow this country to monetize gas before 2030 will not have the type of support that I would like to give. I believe that maximizing the oil potential by accelerating the development must be matched by accelerated investment on the gas side. It's not one or the other. It is finding the vehicle in the next few days that will allow these factors that I've just outlined to be realized. And I want to be open and honest at this forum. I want to be clear. We don't have the time to have 18 months lag between design and construction of a deepwater port. My Minister of Finance and Minister of Public Service, Government Efficiency and Implementation came to me with an idea that I threw them out of the State House yesterday. And I asked them not to bring nonsense to me again. Because I have outlined a vision, the People's Progressive Party Civic, we've outlined a vision of what we want to accomplish. And we have to do it. So those of you who are in the room must understand that we are here not to postpone what we want to accomplish, but we are here to realize based on the benchmark that we're talking about. So I hope that there is great clarity. I've tried as hard as possible to bring great clarity to what we are talking about here. I am no expert on gas, but I'm a good reader and a good listener. And I've sought to read, listen, and engage all the stakeholders. And I have decided, based on all that I've read and all the technical input, to outline various options that are before us, including, of course, the presentation earlier. And let me start maybe by looking at Guyana gas utilization scenarios. If managed strategically, and we are focusing on Guyana now, but once we start this journey, we also have our neighbors with their gas potential and what our infrastructure can do to encourage that gas to be part of one ecosystem and shortening their time frame and their distance to monetization also. So that story, when I speak about this regional integration, that story must also be understood. What is happening in Suriname and how that will be integrated in what we are doing. If managed strategically, the gas can build an entirely new industrial base for Guyana, from fertilizer and steel to plastic and digital services, all anchored in a single gas landing and in an industrial corridor. Each scenario shows a different policy focus, but shares a common vision, turning molecules into jobs, developing a composite scenario can be built after the involvement of this room and understanding what vehicle give us the greatest value, the highest inclusion, great employment, and massive transformation. You can't win on every front. Sometimes a higher value chain brings in less job, but higher paying jobs, more upskilled jobs. So it's how we find the right balance. So I'll go through some of the scenarios that are before us. Not concluding, I'm going through some of the options and scenarios. I want to be very clear. One scenario is to extract the highest possible value from every molecule of gas. Here, gas fractions are separated and each converted into high-value export products. Methane feeds a blue ammonia urea methanol complex, where carbon dioxide from hydrogen production is reused in urea. Then you have a liquefied petroleum gas. Propane and butane supply a mixed feed steam cracker. A gas-powered data center campus, which adds digital export and new technology jobs. That was examined in what they term the highest value creation. Then scenario 2 is the highest employment and inclusion. I'm going through all the scenarios that the technical people brought. The purpose of this highest employment and inclusion scenario is to create maximum number of jobs and the broadest local participation. This scenario diversifies across several mid-scale industries within the corridor, gas, powers, and heats, and heat plants for fertilizer, steel using gas-based direct reduced iron, cement and glass, alumina, agro-processing, and cold storage, and a digital hub. Scenario 3, energy leverage industrial transformation. The purpose is to use low-cost, reliable gas energy to transform Guyana's own raw materials into finished goods. This cheap and stable gas energy drives industries that upgrade domestic resources, cement and lime from limestone, glass and ceramics from sand, alumina from bauxite, and fertilizer from methane and captured CO2. These industries feed construction, mining, and agriculture. Power and heat are generated internally within each plant, not from a separate utility. Scenario 4, mega-scale development. A single gas complex would monetize every gas fraction on one site. Methane feeds blue ammonia, urea, and methanol production. Mixed feed system cracker and PDH unit to produce plastics. All CO2 is reused on site, and the complex includes its own desalination, water recycling, and export jetty. This project anchors a national petrochemical brand and attract downstream investors. So this is positioning Guyana as a global petrochemical destination and brand. Every fraction of Guyana's gas can be transformed into high-value products and jobs. Whether the priority is maximum export value, maximum employment, domestic transformation, or a single mega project. Each scenario builds on the same foundation: one integrated industrial corridor, use of CO2, a clear national purpose, which is turning molecules into greater value and jobs. Now we go to other options. Option 1, in the strategic Berbice investment, is a 2 gigawatt data center, 2 MTPA alumina, and 1 MTPA gas facility. A liquid natural gas LNG plant, option 2, and option 3, an LNG plant and data center. Then we have another option is the Berbice region nearshore, modular and scalable gas processing, NGL and LPG facility, physical and or virtual pipelines, small-scale LNG to supply gas throughout the region, centralized operation, and LNG depot in Berbice, serving as a logistical backbone for small-scale LNG, and ISO container distribution for future industrialization of the region, and then a world-class, this one brings together a world-class consortium as an option. So these are the options that are before us. You have heard the benchmarks about value creation, about jobs, about resilience, about sustainability. The benchmarks about monetizing before 2030. So I wanted us in this room, because we have investors in varied fields, to have a full understanding as to the potential, and to understand that we are looking to unlock a potential that would also incentivize the gas from Suriname to be added so that they can also have a shorter journey to monetization. Of course, with the exploration that is taking place, we are hopeful that there will be even more gas that can continue to build out this infrastructure. That is why the Berbice area and the infrastructure we are building there is for the long term, not for the immediate is for the long term. We have had various partners working on the integration. We have Bechtel here today in the room. We have our friends from Saudi. We have the industry leaders. We have investors from Qatar, many from the US, many investors from the region, Brazil. We have the Brazilian federal government also here today. And that tells you in this very short time frame the attractiveness of what we have to offer and the diversity of persons that we were able to bring together. Tells you a story. Now, what do we want? How do we move forward? This summit will feed into the energy conference in February, and we are hoping at the energy conference it will be decision point, where we will be launching out the investment platform to put all of this together, to pull all of this together, and to advance the work forward. Richard and I are also discussing some wider plans for the broader economy, not only for Guyana, but how we position a product here that can bring together what the FII was able to do in a smaller scale. So together, I think we can accomplish the ideas, we can bring value to the work, and we can open up the opportunities for a Guyana that remains a strong regional player, and for a Guyana that builds the foundation for regional prosperity. We are not a Guyana only concerned about Guyanese. We are a Guyana deeply rooted in regional prosperity. And whatever we do must lead to regional prosperity, regional integration, and the expansion of an economic zone that position us at the center of coming together. Thank you very much, and God bless all of you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for not just outlining, but remaining steadfast in your vision to build a truly modern Berbice and Guyana. And I know that you have made us hungry for all that is to come. We've heard you clearly. Time is of the essence. So over lunch, let's have those conversations. Let's make those connections and seize the opportunities that His Excellency has clearly outlined in building out a truly world-class county of Berbice and Guyana. After lunch, ladies and gentlemen, we'll explore Guyana's infrastructure investments, our mining and natural resources industries, and the rapidly advancing digital and telecommunications sector. So we'll take a break, we'll have an on-site lunch, and as we said, please use the opportunity to network, to share those ideas, explore those partnerships from the various options the President gave just now, and to connect with each other. We'll reconvene the Berbice Development Summit at 2 p.m. sharp, so that gives us just 2 solid hours for lots of business to happen. So enjoy your, I'm just checking, Alistair and the team, that we can take a break now. Yes, all right. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll allow That's exactly that. Hungry to work, but hungry to nourish yourselves and work. So we'll do that. I'm sure the President will. So we'll allow His Excellency to greet you all across the room, and as he takes his leave, we'll break for lunch and reconvene at 2 p.m. sharp.